What's up, guys? We're going to be taking a look at a Zerg build order today. It's going to be a 3-base Roach Baneling bust by Jadong. I have too many tabs open. Alright, so in this game we have Jadong versus Yoda from the Home Story Cup. And this build is a very straightforward build, very powerful build. This build hard counters the Reaper expand into 3 command center build that is oh so common with Terran players. It doesn't do too well against Heli and Banshee play. Heli and Banshee play is the hardest counter that you can do against this build. And then, like, either way, even if you do it against a 3 command center build, it doesn't ensure that you auto win. It just has a much higher percentage of working out. And against Heli and Banshee, it doesn't mean you auto-lose. It just means you have a much higher percentage of not dealing as much damage as you'd like. So it's very easy to add on different variations, such as, like, if it's Heli and Banshee, to just not even make any Banelings, or just make enough to break down the wall and supply block him, and then just drone it up behind, and then play it out from there. Against the 3 command center build, you can always just keep pummeling units into the Terran player, because you do have 3 hatcheries producing units all at the same time. Or, I mean, having injects all at the same time and producing units, of course. So the economy of this build is very simple. You only want 16 drones on your mineral patches. You only want 3 drones in this gas, and then you want to have 2 additional gases. I don't think it really makes a difference if you take it there or if you take it here or there. If you take the ones at the natural, it makes it a bit harder for the Zerg player or the Terran player to scout if you take in this gas or not. That's why Jadong ends up taking the gases at the natural. But yeah, so you only want 16 drones, and then 3 in gas, 3 in gas, 3 in gas. So that's a total of 16 plus 16, 32 plus 9, 41 drones. You make any more, you fail. You make any less, you fail. But really, it's just fully saturated at 16 workers, and it's pretty straightforward. And then you want to make 0 workers at your 3rd base as well. Now, it's interesting to see how Jadong, he only makes 3 queens. I really like how he only makes 3 queens as well. He has this 3rd queen not only keeps him safe against double Reaper, triple Reaper shenanigans. Double Reaper doesn't really do much, but early Hellion harass, and also 2-base Hellbat all-ins. You can save up a transfuse, and by the time the roaches pop out, that'll give you enough firepower to fend back the push. And he's also taking his 3rd base at a very normal time. At around the 6-minute mark is when you should be taking your base as a Zerg player off of a Speedling expand. So this tells our Terran brethren that when they scout the 3rd base going down at this timing, they feel like it's a normal play, because the timing is in fact normal. But instead, Jadong ends up getting this Roach Warren as soon as the 3rd base goes down. And right here we see he's just constantly droning up. You want to drone up as quickly as possible, because this push is going to hit pretty much immediately as soon as the roaches start popping out, moving across the map. You're in action here. So we see only drones. We see a couple overlords being queued up to free up the supply cap so that he can make roaches. What he's going to do here is he's going to put all of his gas into roaches. And this lines up really nicely so that he has enough gas in time to make a bunch of roaches, and in fact he's only limited by his larva right here. So a good benchmark is to just make as many roaches as possible until they start popping out. So, like, you want to stop making them right before they pop out. Otherwise, they'll start straggling behind, and you want them all in one big group. That's why he stops making them now and starts making a bunch of lings. You don't want to overdo it on the roaches either. Like, see how they're popping out. If you still make more, then it's going to delay your speedling count and your ability to make banelings as well. And roaches diminish after a certain count. You want to have a lot of banelings because they can also quickly reinforce as well. So just pause in the game a little bit. And a quick recap of the build that Jaedong's done so far. He opened up a speedling expand. He took a third base at a very normal time. Then he added the Roach Warren. He added 2 additional gases. And then he saturated everything immediately. So like he was saturated on his natural immediately. He saturated those gases immediately. And right after he started his third hatch is when he started taking gas at his main again. And as soon as the roaches start being made, you want to build the baneling nest, and you only want to build enough roaches so that by the time that they start popping out, they'll start moving across the map. See how like they're kind of marching? They're not all together, but they're not too far away that they're going to be straggling. And then he's going to make pure Zerglings and whatever else from here, overlords and Zerglings. And he also has this queen that's able to inject here. That's going to give him a bunch more unit production as well, maximum unit production. And he also has this creep tumor over here to transition into the later stages of the game. He was able to have the creep tumor here because he saved up enough energy for both an inject and a creep tumor, mostly because of the Hellbat timing at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. You want to have a transfuse or 2 available. So this queen was a defensive queen, and now it's a macro queen. So now on to the execution of the build. The general goal of the roaches is to zone out the Hellions so that your Zerglings can get into a safe position without getting too many of them picked off. That was a decent shot by Yoda. But then now the Hellions get kind of zoned off, like what the roaches should be doing. And Jaedong has a lot of gas here. He is also saving up larva because he wants to make as many Zerglings or as many banelings as possible. This initial round of Zerglings is what's going to be used for the first bust, and then you're going to reinforce with Zerglings popping out, so that by the time that this is busted down, your roaches will be starting to do damage, and these reinforcing Zerglings will be on their way across the map to reinforce the rest of the fight. So we see here it's a pretty tense moment. Yoda's building up his bunkers. He really needs to add Widow Mines, not Hellions. Silly him. But Jaedong has some pretty good vision so that he can see any Widow Mine clumps that there are and detonate them before they get too many big hits on the banelings. And the banelings end up doing a ton of damage. And I just want to point out here, had Yoda microed a bit better and he only lost maybe like 5 more SCVs to these 4 banelings, then he would have been in an okay position. He would have been slightly behind, but he would have been able to most likely make a good comeback because, as we see here, he has 3 orbitals, and his 1-1 has already started, whereas Jaedong doesn't even have evoke chambers. That's one of the few things that you sacrifice, along with drone saturation at the 3rd, to get this kind of a big, massive army out. But Yoda ends up mismicroing that, and as a result, it's a pretty straightforward win from here. And Jaedong's not even he doesn't even want to end the game. Like, if Yoda had Widow Mines, I don't think Jaedong would have been able to end the game. And if he was making Marauders as well, these roaches wouldn't have been nearly as effective. And so Jaedong immediately starts making a big round of drones. So he only really made one round of roaches, 1 round of speedlings, and they turned those speedlings into banelings, and then he made 1 more round of speedlings before making another round of drones. That's what his unit production looks like, or looked like for this game. And then he's adding his 2 evoke chambers. So he's already transitioning out of this. And then he makes some more Banes. Roach Bane, so scary. And that ends up killing Yoda. And Jaedong's like, he's still droning up behind this. No intention of flooding Yoda to death. But these units just end up killing him either way. So yeah, very straightforward video of a very straightforward build. Just 3 hatches. It's important to try to sell the build as much as possible. There are subtle cues that tell the Terran player that this is coming, such as Yoda scan. You know what? I can actually just go in the because it's a replay. Yoda scanning at the natural around the 740, 750 minute mark is when you want to scan. So he scanned at 740. He sees no evo chambers. That's the biggest tell that it's going to happen. And he also sees 2 additional gas, but the 2 gas could really mean anything. He did see the 3rd hatchery going down, so he does have a good idea that this is in fact not going to be a 2-base tech, and it's going to be a Roach Baneling all-in. So he did have a good heads up and knowing it was coming, so he immediately walls off, and he's immediately going to start. You know what? He probably didn't even see it until now, because his bunkers didn't even start up. That sucks for him. Another way to scout it is to, instead of having your Hellions doing what Yoda was doing over here, looking for Zerglings, if you have your Hellions right here, you'll see immediately when the roaches start moving across the map, and then you'll be like, okay, it's time to make bunkers. So yeah, selling it is very important. The easier, or the more you sell it, the easier of a win it'll be. So even though Jaedong was discovered, he wasn't discovered till around here, and that's barely enough time for Yoda to put down a bunch of bunkers. It's enough time to get maybe 2 Widow Mines out, and his production really isn't going. He's not mentally prepared either, so it can really still catch your opponent off guard. So yeah. And then it's really good. You also want to make sure you don't over drone either. You want to have 16 drones at your main and your natural. Have 3 gas saturated. You also want to have 3 queens so that you have full larva production at all 3 of your hatcheries. That's another thing that makes a huge difference, having an additional, how many things pop out? I think it's like 3 or 4 larvae that pop out for each inject. I'm looking it up really quickly. Okay, so it's 3 larvae that end up popping out. So that's an additional 6 lings per production round that Jaedong is able to squeeze out, or 3 drones, either or. But it makes a big difference in this early stage of the game, and another reason why this all-in is so powerful. Yeah, that pretty much brings an end to this. Definitely a different video. Yeah, trying to think of any last minute things, but I think I covered it. So I'll see you guys all later. Peace out.